On today's episode, I will be talking about my vending experience at Fort Pierce Punk Rock Flea Market in Florida. I was lucky enough to be one of the first vendors to be part of this punk show in Fort Pierce. I'm going to go over the event and what I experienced during setup, breakdown, and so much more. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Georgia, and I am the creator of Scrap the Catwalk. I have been a vendor for over 7 years, but for the last 2 years, I have taken my shop full time to conventions, local art shows, and pop-up events in Florida. I am here to talk about my experience as a vendor through my eyes. So turn up the volume, wait for the pause, and let's get started. This event is packed with a variety of independent vendors and artists, unique small businesses, live music from some killer bands, and awesome food and drinks. Hosted at the Tipsy Tiki in Fort Pierce, Florida. Now, back in 2021, Aaron Snyder set up his first punk rock flea market in Fort Pierce, Florida. Aaron is the creator of the market with his amazing group of volunteers. He is also an artist, and his shop is called Retro Grindhouse, macabre art and apparel with a twist. An artist-backed brand specializing in art and apparel inspired by classic horror and macabre films of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Perfect for those punks, goths, lowlifes, and devilheads. For the last 16 plus years, he has been designing and molding experiences. They range from branding web products to illustrations that cross both web and print mediums. This man is very talented. So when he announced his first event, I was ready to be part of it. The first setup was in the downtown area of Fort Pierce, and we were set up on the 2nd Street between the businesses. The bands were set up in a bar called the Sailfish Brewery Company. The bands had a setup inside the patio bar that faced out into the street. It was a great first show. It was an easy setup and the music was loud and entertaining. We had a huge advantage as a vendor to have a variety of people coming through our tents. There was also a weekly market on the other side of the buildings that attracted a non-punk crowd. So the day was very busy, and even though it was hot, we were near the water. So it was breezy enough to be really comfortable. My shop kicked it out of the park. My 2-hour drive was worth the setup. Now, I'm not going to go into this setup because the following year, the flea market found a new home in the Tipsy Tiki down the street. However, the first event at the Tipsy Tiki in 2022 was disrupted by heavy winds. The winds was just too much, and it became very apparent that it was not only a hazard to our personal items, but it was also a safety hazard. Now, Aaron, who is the creator of this event, made a difficult decision to cancel the event on the day of. The storms in Florida are a bit unpredictable, so it wasn't a surprise to show up at an event and it to be canceled. There was honestly no warning to what came towards us that day. I know it was heart-wrenching for him to cancel this day. When he did cancel, standing there watching him, my heart just went out to him. It was just so, it was sad, but at the same time, I respected him so much for making that decision because the storm that did come through was so bad. It had the alerts on the radio. The rain was coming down. I mean, it was just so crazy. So for him to make that decision it was perfect. So like most events you sign up for, it's rain or shine. You take those chances when you sign up for an outdoor event. I'd rather an event cancel before setting up, even while standing there, than have my tent destroyed and my are wiped away because I have seen it done. I have seen where a storm would come through and vendors are running around and grabbing their art, and the coordinator is doing absolutely nothing but standing there. It's heartbreaking. I mean, this already happened to me at another show, but I will spill that tea on my next episode. Going back to Aaron is an artist and a business owner himself. So he has that compassion towards his vendors. That's what I think. He understands because he also sets up shop like us in other events. So when he made this decision to cancel, I was like, okay, done. Communication is key between vendors and coordinators. So when you have someone who is professional as Aaron, you're going to get treated with respect. There are a lot of shows in the far past that would have the vendors set up regardless of the weather warnings. And of course, we all end up scrambling to save our stores. Now, when an event cancels, you know you're not going to get your tent fee back. So all the travel you invested will be lost. But Aaron already had another event scheduled and he invited us to be part of it. And it gave us a choice to either receive a refund or sign up for the next event at no cost. I know he loses a lot of money doing this because not only is the event coordinator paying for the location, he also might be paying for the bands that are playing that day. And he usually has 6+ bands playing. Remember, creating an event is still a business. So financially, you still want to make money, but at the same time, you take care of your vendors so they'll come back. Sometimes you can support a canceled show by buying the merch that they created for that day. So if you're in that position to give back, then do it. Okay, now let's get into the event setup and breakdown for the event that finally happened at the Tipsy Tiki. The weather was sunny and hot, but because we were near the water, we still had a breeze. So bring those weights and don't be cheap and use those water gallon jugs to hold your tent down. It is just not going to happen. If you have been using water gallon jugs and getting by, consider yourself lucky because trust me, I did the same thing when I first started to vend and I had a tent destroyed because I kept putting it off. So invest in tent weights. You don't want your tent flying up and hitting a car and forbid another person. I will place a link below for some of those good weights. A week before the show, we get the famous vendor email that tells us the name, the time, location, and rules. It is a first come, first serve basis. So meaning that when you get the email, they give you a time to show up. It's the first person there to choose a spot. Sometimes you don't get that choice of choosing the spot. It's just a matter of showing up and, okay, you go here, you go there. You know, he does it like a domino effect. So, but he's pretty open about where you want to go, but pretty much that's how it ends up. Domino effect, first person, second person, third person. So, but the Tipsy Tiki is surrounded by parking. So the setup is on either side of the bar. So the bar has a wooden fence wrapped around it with an outdoor stage and benches to sit and eat. Tent setup can be either on either side of the fence or inside the actual bar. I choose to set up on the outside of the fence because it's easier for me to drive my vehicle up to the spot I want. Now, the floor is all sand, but it's like loose and solid sand, so pulling your wagon or dolly is not too difficult. There is sand inside the bar area, so you might find a bit challenging to roll your wagon if it is too heavy. I think a canvas wall would probably help prevent so much sand coming into my tent. So in the future, I plan on investing in a tent wall, but it's not like the sand is flying everywhere. It's just, it's near the water. It's near the beach. So you're going to feel it on your body at the end of the day. Now, setting up is very easy. You drive up to the spot you want to unload, then move your car into the parking area, which is right in front of you. So while you vent, you can actually see your car. It is so close that you can walk to your car and still see your booth and walk back in seconds. I have 12 metal display gates that I use to wrap around my store. So I use my dolly to keep my gates off the ground. I use zip ties to piece it all together and a 6x6 tent setup for my dressing room. My booth faces out with no obstruction. So the mannequins that I set up are the first thing you see from the street. So I do my best to make my mannequins look sharp with my merchandise to draw people over to my tent. Now, during the event, the music is loud. I mean, you're right there and you can hear the bands playing. There's a wooden fence that blocks my view, but I stand on my chair to see who's playing. It's really fun and time goes so fast. The bar is open so you can get something to drink and bathrooms are close by and they're clean. So if you need to step away from your booth, you can. The other vendors are always so fun to hang out with, so you're going to have a good time. Now, at this event, you don't get slammed with customers, but there are waves of people that come and go. The peak of customers happens before each band plays. When the bands are playing, you have a little break because everybody is listening and watching. And the locals seem to come by when they hear the music, but other people from the market down the street seem to accidentally see this event. So you get a whole mix of people. It is kid and pet friendly, so you also see a lot of families too. There is a restaurant and bar on each side of us that bring in a crowd as well. So there is a crowd, and the best part, it is usually a buying crowd. I love doing this event because I make money and it's an all-around good time. I am there from morning till night, and I'm tired. But not like drag your body to the car tired, but I'm tired. I think it's because we have that nice breeze that really helps with the heat because it's still hot and we get a break between the crowd coming when the band plays. So we actually get a nice comfy break throughout the day. So I would suggest to bring a towel, paper towels to wipe off the sweat and also the sand that seems to come off the ground onto your table. I like having hand sanitizer at my booth because I love clothes. I have clothes. I love clothes, but I have clothes. People like to touch and pull the pieces, so this helps my clothing stay very clean. I do bring my own water and snacks, even though you can grab something to eat at the bar. However, it gets really busy in the bar, so I just choose to bring my own. The internet works really well here, so your phone and Square we will be able to take orders with no issues. I found that this crowd paid with cash, debit, and cash apps. Now the breakdown. When the event is coming to a close, I slowly start cleaning up and I keep my merchandise up. I start breaking down my table first because the bins I have to hold those items are stored underneath my table. Then I will start wrapping up the items that I have hanging on my walls. I break down my dressing room, my walls, and then my tent. I like to take pieces of what I have been breaking down back to my car in sections because I don't have to drive up to my booth. My car is always parked right in front of me. By the end of this event, it will be dark. So I do bring a light, but you don't need to set up lights for the event itself. I just choose to bring a light to help me because I'm pretty much blind in the dark. So it helps me a lot. Once the car is loaded, I always linger around to find out how everybody did. And Aaron is always there till the very end asking us how we did. So again, I'm tired, but I'm still able to stand. So would I set up shop here again? Absolutely. It is worth my 2-hour drive for this event, and the price for the spot is under $100. The people are from all walks of life. The music feels like you're in a concert, And that's the vibe of the whole day. It's all about the music, and the vendors are like a bonus for this crowd. And it just comes alive. The event is a hidden jewel. When I see his name attached to events, I jump for the chance to be part of those shows. He also sets up the heavy metal events in Port St. Lucie, and I'll be covering that event on my next episode. So wait for the pause. I have more to tell. The next Fort Pierce Punk Rock Flea Market at the Tipsy Tiki will be December 2nd, 2023. The call to vendors have not been announced yet, but follow the Facebook page linked below. However, Aaron will be hosting a punk show in Lake Worth, Boynton Beach at the Matthews Brewery Company on July 22nd from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. All the vendors have been selected for this event, but you can check out the Facebook page for more details. On November 4th, he will also be in Vero Beach at the American Icon Brewery from 12 to 6 p.m. As of July 5th, the vendor application is still open, and you can find that information on the Facebook event page. Thank you for the continuous support and feedback. I like to give out a special thank you to my coffee buddy, Cris the girl, who supports me every month by being a part of the Catwalk family. I also want to thank all the one-time coffees from Chad and Amanda. Buy Me a Coffee is an easy crowdfunding to allow people to dip in with their donations and dip out without any commitment. Small donations are a great way to keep this podcast growing and moving into more medias, so thanks to all. All the links to all my social media will be below. I have more event stories, and with the spooky season upon us, I have some scary vendor stories to share too. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for all updates and announcements at Scrap the Catwalk.